been missing for 2 years, but now the Gary Air Show is back home again and preparing for takeoff this weekend. After a failed attempt by the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority to relocate the air show, the skies above Lake Michigan will be buzzing on Saturday and Sunday. Gary's Marquette Park will serve as Air Show Central, but the entertainment will be visible for miles. The U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds will be on hand, as well as the Army's Golden Knights parachute team. Sergeant First Class Derek Coleman of the Golden Knights says air show crowds will get an eyeful.
We jump into football games, baseball games, air shows, and we put on a show for the crowd. We show them what you can do while jumping out of an aircraft, and sometimes the military uses this for halo jumps, which stands for high altitude, low openings. That's what your special forces guys would do. We don't do it all incognito. We jump with smoke so you can see us.
The thing about air shows is everybody becomes a kid when they're watching air shows. Every adult is 12 again, and they get excited. And I don't know exactly what it is about airplanes, but that was in my heart when I was 5, when I first decided I wanted to learn to fly. So I started flying at 16, and I've been flying ever since.
Air show visitors can check out food vendors and merchants at Marquette Park beginning at 9 a.m. both Saturday and Sunday. Aerial performers will take to the skies between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. each day. Over 500 new jobs are coming to the region, thanks in part to the affordable cost of doing business in Northwest Indiana. The Lake County Economic Alliance says an as-yet unnamed company, now based in the western suburbs of Chicago, has plans to relocate to the East Chicago Enterprise Center. Karen Lauerman, CEO of the Alliance, says part of the reason for the move is the favorable business climate in the Hoosier State. Additionally, East Chicago authorities are crafting a package of tax incentives to entice the company to the area. Lauerman says that for this particular company, East Chicago is a perfect fit.
Their current operation was just too small, and in order to expand, they began their search to look at Northwest Indiana, in specific Lake County. Found this particular location in East Chicago. It fits the bill. It can be retrofitted to their new operations. They're expanding and adding a new line of equipment, so there will be some opportunity for training.
Lauerman says the name of the Illinois firm can't yet be revealed because East Chicago is still working out financial incentives, but she said it should be identified soon. It's about to get a lot easier for Hoosiers to recognize, find, and purchase products grown, produced, or processed right here in Indiana. State organizers say Hoosiers spend approximately $16 billion per year buying food, and less than 10% of that is sourced within Indiana. The Indiana Grown initiative will identify Indiana grown products in 4 categories: Indiana Grown, which denotes a state connection; partner status for companies like Kroger and Marsh, which help market local products; Prepared in Indiana, which means ingredients can come from out of state, but all production happens in Indiana; and 100% Indiana, which means all products and ingredients are grown entirely within the state. Some area farmers say with a growing consumer desire for locally sourced goods, the Indiana Grown program is an important tool for local growers trying to reach the Hoosier marketplace.
From a grower standpoint, it actually puts us in front of people, allows us to share our story with people that are excited about the locally grown ingredients. These are the people that grow our apples. These are the people that grow our beef. These are the people that grow our hops, whatever it is. And it allows us to create a story, which you can't do that with any food you get at the grocery store.
Hoosiers can find Indiana Grown members at the program's website, www.indianagrown.org. Well, it's been raining cats and dogs in and around Northwest Indiana. Coming up, we'll see how local farmers are dealing with the above-average precipitation. That story, and plus a conversation with Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson, just ahead on Lakeshore Report.
Lakeshore Report wants to hear from you. Send your thoughts, concerns, questions, and story ideas to tvfeedback@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can also reach us on Facebook and Twitter at Lakeshore Report. Make sure to tweet us using the hashtag NWIPride, and you may see your comments on air. Lakeshore Report, providing you region-focused content.
Officials at the Purdue Extension Jasper County office say that statewide, agriculture losses from rain and flooding are already close to $400 million. For family farmers, the losses are nothing less than devastating. Stephen Lattimore talked to one family farmer who's been working his farm for 25 years. He's now faced with the prospect of throwing in the towel and calling this season a loss.
This is a good news, bad news story. The good news is that This corn crop behind me did pretty well. It's tall, it's lush, it's dark green. The bad news is that most of the other crops didn't do so well.
They tried to shoot new roots out here, but it's just so wet it can't do anything.
This is the Cole Hagen Farm in Jasper County, Indiana. It stretches for miles. And this is their lake. If you listen, you can even hear the frogs. But now look a little closer. See that stuff in the water? It's actually corn. This lake isn't supposed to be here. This used to be a cornfield. Since the end of May, experts say there have been 20 inches of rainfall here. Normally, they get 6 inches.
During this time period, it was just too much rain, too fast, and we had a lot of ponding in fields, and then the ponding is what killed some crops and stunted the others.
In some fields, several acres have been just washed away. And as it happens, they say these are the fields where they've done all the work. The rest has been sitting in water for weeks. The crops are ruined. Sometimes they can replant, but this far into the season, it's just too late. It's devastating to farmers who have lost half their crop.
Ultimately, as far as the weather goes, we can't determine that, and we can depend on the good Lord for that. And that's where I guess this is also very humbling in realizing that we're not in control of that. And that's where, even in this situation, we have to dig deep in our faith, and this is what helps kind of form character.
Brian Overstreet with the Purdue Extension Office in Jasper County has surveyed the damage.
It should be head high by 4th of July generally with our hybrids that we grow now. And but I've walked fields this week that weren't even up to halfway up my calf, and it's just trying to decide whether to try to continue fertilizing and trying to get it to go, or if it's just say throw up the white flag and say mercy and give up on it.
And if you think because you live in Maryville, Valpo, or Gary that this doesn't affect you, think again.
We feed the world with the crops. I mean, the crops we produce here are used as additives in a lot of foods. A lot of it goes into feed for the livestock feed. It's in this area. So that's when those costs go up, that eventually ends up on the grocery table, our grocery cart. So I mean, it's a trickle-down effect. I mean, when the supply gets lower, and the demand's high, it affects the prices.
So what's the bottom line? Well, if they're lucky, they had crop insurance, so they'll get a little help there. They're also looking to get some help from the state, but by and large, they're going to have to write this entire crop off. It's going to be a tough year for Indiana farmers. So the next time you sit down for that meal, have a good thought for the farmers. In Jasper County, Stephen Lattimore, Lakeshore Report.
Overstreet says the losses for the farmers is in this area around $60 to $70 million, and that will have a huge impact on the local economy. In an effort to give you even more insight on region events, we're collaborating with the state's second largest newspaper, the Times of Northwest Indiana. Regularly, we'll have an exclusive preview of some of the top stories in this Sunday's paper. National French Fry Day coming up on Monday, the Times' Phil Potempa visited Urschel Laboratories in Chesterton and talked to advertising manager Deborah Novello. She says Urschel is a worldwide leader in food production machinery, designing kitchen and restaurant equipment that cuts and slices food like French fries.
I don't believe a lot of people are familiar with the name Urschel in Northwest Indiana. I do think that we are globally known throughout the food processing industry, though. Walk through the aisles of the grocery store, and even when you walk through the vegetable section, if you pick up a bag of lettuce that's been cut, odds are it's been done on our equipment. If you walk down the potato chip aisle, if you pick up a bag of chips, odds are it's been done on our equipment. Same with if you walk down the canned food aisle. If you pick up a can of Campbell's soup, say, all the dices within that can will be done on our equipment. We have a variety of applications outside of food. We do go into the pharmaceutical, chemical, realm a bit, and we also go into more proprietary processing needs depending on the customer situation. Well, we have a test cutting facility, so customers can send in product samples that Our testing technicians will try to match for them many times. Sometimes our customers will want to try something new, so it's a good research and development tool that food processors can use. And the customers are also welcome to come in and test cut and see the different types of equipment in, working.
This is our standard crinkle, which is...
No, I was not aware that it was National French Fry Day. It's not a holiday we normally celebrate here.
For more information about this story, check out this Sunday's Times or log on to www.nwitimes.com. Well, this is a big weekend for the Gary-Chicago International Airport. The airport recently completed a multi-million-dollar extension of its primary runway. And after a 2-year hiatus, the air show is coming back to the Steel City. Lakeshore Report's Michael Puente sat down with Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson to talk about the city's high-flying hopes for the future.
The recent improvements at the Gary-Chicago International Airport, along with completion of a new, longer runway, are renewing hopes that the facility can become a vital economic engine for the city of Gary and Northwest Indiana. Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson joins me now to talk about the impact both the airport and the air show may have on the entire region. Mayor, thank you for joining us here on Lakeshore Report.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, Mayor, $174 million project extended by, 1,900 feet. What will this do for the Gary-Chicago Airport?
Well, it will open up a myriad of opportunities that are made easier because you have a longer runway. You can carry more weight on the plane, therefore more fuel. You can also go to longer distances. And so there's an opportunity for commercial service to places like Las Vegas and Mexico and other places, destinations where people are more apt to fly from this area. There's also an opportunity to fly cargo from this area.
Well, Mayor, people want things done overnight, but can you talk a little bit about the logistics of getting this project done to extend the runway, the main primary airport? It took like a 10-year effort, correct?
It was a 10-year effort, and people got frustrated because they said, how hard could it be to simply pour 1,900 more feet of concrete? Well, it wasn't that easy. We were negotiating with 3 Class 1 rail lines. In fact, we disrupted one of CN's most profitable lines during the course of the construction. You also had Norfolk Southern, you had CSX, you had contaminated sites on the airport property. We had to negotiate and navigate through all of that.
Now, Mayor, today you had a ribbon cutting for the new runway, a lot of dignitaries in attendance. There's still talk about a 3rd Chicago area airport for Gary being that. Does this help Gary kind of achieve that goal?
It absolutely does. As a result of the Gary-Chicago Compact, Gary is in fact marketed and in reality the 3rd airport in the Chicago aviation district. And so this allows them to look at other commercial service. It also allows for the possibility of corporate service, and we have a ton of that already, but we can take even more service from the Chicago airports.
Okay, well, new primary runway, longer air show. Well, what's next for the Gary Airport?
Well, we are looking also at development in the airport footprint. So it's not just on the airport, but it's in adjacent properties. We've seen Carmeuse Lime expand there. We also have interest in other manufacturers who want to go into that footprint in the Buffington Harbor area. We're also expanding or improving Airport Boulevard, which will be extremely important to our current and future customers.
What do you think? What would you like to see happen at the airport, say in the next six months to a year?
Well, certainly I'd like to see a commercial carrier. We all would. But in addition to that, I would like to see the emplanements increase. So whether those emplanements are because of corporate jets, whether those emplanements are due to cargo planes, or whether those emplanements are because we now have service to Las Vegas, that's what we're looking for right away.
Is patience the key, though, to some people wanting to see things happen overnight?
Well, we know that patience is extremely important, but I think it's also good to be a little impatient, to have a sense of urgency, because when you have that, when you understand how vital it is to the city of Gary because of jobs, to Northwest Indiana, then it makes you move faster.
Well, I want to thank the Mayor of Gary, Karen Freeman Wilson, for joining us here on Lakeshore Report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for having me.
Bending an ankle or knee while walking is second nature to most of us. Tiny electrical signals contract the leg muscles, helping the joints move. Currently, most prosthetic legs can't move that way. A new study examined if using the electrical signals generated when muscles contract, which already help guide motorized prosthetic arms, can also make it easier for people to walk with a motorized prosthetic leg. Catherine Dolph has more in this week's JAMA Report.
Artist Terry Karpowitz and triathlete Haley Danisevich are helping test the next generation of prosthetic legs, a motorized leg that bends at the knee and ankle.
This one allows me the opportunity to flow down the stairs and not really think about the process of what the next step is.
It feels great, just being able to go down with that really natural movement.
This motorized leg harnesses electrical signals generated by their upper leg muscles. These signals are known as EMG.
We pick them up with tiny antennas called electrodes. When the electrodes touch the skin, you can detect the EMG signals. We pick those signals up and decode them.
These signals help tell the leg how to move.
Looking good.
Traditional prosthetic legs are passive, functioning almost like a fancy walking stick.
With this prosthetic leg, the power pushes you along. It can push you up out of a seat. It can push you upstairs or slopes.
Dr. Levi Hargrove from the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago and co-authors tested 2 different ways to use the motorized leg in a group of 7 patients, all with lower limb amputations. One way incorporated EMG, the other way did not. Each patient tested both methods, but was not aware of which method was being used at a given time.
The system that did not incorporate neural signals, we noticed that it had a few more errors, like stubbing your toe or kicking the bottom of the stair.
The study appears in JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association.
Using EMG signals resulted in a leg that behaved better, made fewer mistakes, and people liked to use it better. It reduced error rates by almost 50%.
It allows me that freedom to just be who I am, not necessarily an amputee.
This is kind of the closest that I've gotten to having 2 legs again. What we're working on in this lab is eventually going to change the lives of amputees everywhere. I mean, it's it's great.
Catherine Dolph, the JAMA Report.
Twice a month, Lakeshore Report teams up with the Society of Innovators of Northwest Indiana and Ivy Tech Community College Initiative to showcase some of the most forward-thinking people and ideas the region has to offer. This week, we introduce you to Bill Hanna, President and CEO of the Indiana Regional Development Authority. The organization he leads tries to find innovative ideas to transform the economy and improve the quality of life in Northwest Indiana.
Innovation to me, I think it's 2 things. It's the way that you approach something from a creative standpoint to find a new use or a broader use for it, and it's also creating a mindset of thinking that creative thought process on a daily basis. Well, we've been around about 10 years now, and some of the projects take time, but what you could visibly see now, which is really exciting, if you want to go and think about reuse, you go to a place like the Portage Park, and it's just neat to see where, an acid bathing facility for steel is now an environmentally clean place where kids can play on a beach. There's a handicapped accessible a point on the water. We've done the Marquette Park in Gary, which would be the capstone of the Miller redevelopment area. So that facility has been restored to its former grandeur and is being reimagined as a driver of commerce. And then finally is the grand opening of the brand new Gary-Chicago International Airport extended runway. They look like individual projects, but the synergy of them is creating a new economic vibrancy. But what we've done here is identify the things that are immovable and sometimes are liabilities where they should be assets. And the shoreline is one of those. Our proximity to Chicago is something that cannot be replicated. It's impossible. So it's a natural advantage we have over the rest of the country, other than the suburbs that are, similarly positioned. So yeah, the next decade is really about bringing us up to to the even playing field as a true beneficiary of our proximity to Chicago. A working suburb that has its own character, its own identity, and we maintain those things. Maintaining the jobs that we have with industry, but opening up a whole new world. With that said, we don't always know the best way to do that, and part of this process we're in is working with the communities that are going to be most affected by them. Even your opposition should be viewed as a valuable partner, because the points they raise many times are valid and afford you the opportunity to avoid something that you haven't thought of, maybe something that is an injustice or would have a disparate impact on a community. We have a set of objectives and we've measured them to understand that yes, it's a deficit, and we want to help, like I say, give everybody the same shot they have right across the border from us.
For more information about the Society of Innovators, visit www.nwisoi.org. And don't forget, for more information on any of our stories, you can go to lakeshorepublicmedia.org. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next time on Lakeshore Report.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Kirk Musprat, music director and conductor of the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra and a frequent guest on Eye on the...
Happy summer.
Well, same to you, Kirk.
I love your bow tie.
Thank you so much. I thought it would be summery and festive looking. Speaking of summer, the Big South Shore Summer Music Festival commences very soon.
Yes, the 18th.
Yeah. Next
5 concerts. We start in Cedar Lake on Saturday the 18th. Then the next Saturday, we're in Crown Point. It's always a beautiful location.
On the 25th.
On the 25th. Then on that weekend of the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd, we have a Friday night, a Saturday night, and a Sunday afternoon concert. Hammond, Griffith, and finally in Cherville.
Yes.
It's an afternoon concert in Cherville.
All of the concerts are at 7:30.
Except the Cherville one.
Except for the Cherville
which
one.
is at 5.
5 o'clock
Yeah.
on a Sunday afternoon. And what are some of the things you're going to be playing this year?
Well, what I tried to do, John, is create a melange of pieces that people seem to like the formula. So on the first half, for instance, we have we're starting with the Stars and Stripes Forever, Sousa, then we do Tchaikovsky and Berlioz. Then right away we go to doing some Broadway. We're doing Camelot, 2 pieces from Les Mis with a talented young woman from Gary, Allison Davis. We're going to do some Mexican music this summer. We're doing this hot Tico Tico piece, which I see you smiled. It's one of your favorite pieces.
Yeah, I love
we've done
Tico Tico.
It's really good. And then we're going to do some patriotic music because it is the 70th anniversary of the ending of World War II. So we're going to do Born on the 4th of July and God Bless America. That's the first half. Okay. Second half is all movie music. We'll start in the 60s with Exodus, and we'll move quickly to Superman in the 70s. We'll move into the 21st century with Castaway. And we finally got the music to Monuments Men, which is by Desplat, the big award winner from last year. And again, it's patriotic. And we're going to end with Star Wars.
Oh.
So some John Williams.
Are you going to come out as Darth Vader? I know you. I mean, that's.
I would be more a Han Solo.
Oh,
type.
I see. Yes, the hero.
People say that I look like him. Actually,
do they?
Yes,
I see. They're crazy, obviously.
Yes, they are.
So thousands of people come to these free concerts.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Valpo last year packed. Crown Point packed. Griffith, I think the whole town's there. Cedar Lake, I think they turned the place upside down.
I know, it was an enormous number of people there. So, well, speaking of Valpo, that's an extra concert.
It is. It's on the 5th, and it's an extra concert. We started last year. It's sponsored by BMO Harris, our great friends, and Porter County Community Foundation, which are really wonderful to us. The rest of the concerts are sponsored by our great and loyal friends, Strachan Van Tills and Chase.
Yes.
And without those companies, as we know, I don't know what we do, but I don't know, what do you think? We'll have 50,000 people this summer?
Well, I think that might be a little optimistic.
Well, I'm an optimist. I'm Han Solo. You know?
That would be great. Well, we thank all of the communities
absolutely.
that welcome us to their neighborhoods for these concerts, and thank you for coming here to tell us about them. And we're off.
Okay,
Thanks
great.
for being here, Kirk.
Thank you, John. Happy summer.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Eye on the Arts. Eye on the Arts is made possible in part by South Shore Arts, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency.